eccentric, egg-centric. I don't know. All right. There.
For sure.
Brian, I took on this challenge. I used one of the chucks in the shop. It took me a little bit to understand the wedge thing because I didn't have it cut in the center. And so when it would only have about an 1/8 of an inch of play, and then I realized that it was cut in the center. The chuck we have back there, though, the wide flanged one, the flanges move a little bit. So it was a little wacky. And then Sue tried it, and Sue had one blow off of it. And I said, no, we're pulling that thing apart. I'm not going to let anybody else use it. So we tried it. I'll try it again with a better chuck. But what I did is I did something wrong where I didn't really get this off-centered enough. And when I went to hollowing it, I went through the side. So I took a bunch or some slices of veneer and just laid them on there and sanded them down round so that you couldn't see the hole anymore. But I did actually get it eccentric. I think the practice makes perfect kind of thing plays a lot into this because you got to kind of test it and then figure out. But it was a challenge. And this was my result.
Is that where you want it? Okay. I watched them blow up theirs, so I decided a different way of putting mine on the lathe. I laminated these and then I put them together like we were shown, and I turned them and I got them apart, and I thought I'm doing all right. And I put this on the lathe and it was off center a little bit, and then it jumped off the lathe, so I never got it completely done. And this one I put on the second time and used a lot more hot glue to keep it on to the board and the worm screw, is that what you call it? Yeah, okay. And then I did that. I'm going to have to make these bigger because I don't see a reason to make these. I've got to find a reason to do this now that I've challenged and figured out how to make it emerging. Thank you.
Well, I was hoping I could be first. Because if I was first, then when the other stuff comes on, you'll see how good they did. You'll forget about mine. But I make as much sawdust as anybody. And I had a lot of fun making it. It didn't hurt myself, didn't fall off of the lathe or anything like that. So, and I'm sitting here wondering now, what do I do with it? And the only thing I came up with is it looked like it'd be a good place to keep your cocaine. You take your little straw. But then I'm really not into that sort of thing. But again, I make as much sawdust as anybody, and I had fun, and I appreciate the challenge.
Would it be better if I can use or something? Yeah.
Yeah, where's the? We used to have blue tape.
Okay, I set out to make an emerging sphere, and this is step one. And then when I shifted it in our clamp device that we had set up in the shop, it seemed to be firmly in place in the new position with the two spacers on it. And I spun it up and it still seemed to be okay. And then I put the gouge up against the side and it decided it didn't want to stay. And fortunately, all three pieces headed for the floor and went three different directions. A little more with a loud clattering noise. It was a little more exciting than the group wanted that night. So I have an emerging half sphere.
I told her stop. It wasn't safe at that point until I saw it.
As you can see, I don't follow rules very well because I don't think this one really qualifies for what we were trying to do. My idea, this was, I had a failed attempt before, and my original idea was to have an emerging bowl, but to have a live edge on one side of it that stood up proud. And for whatever reason, it didn't work. And so I ended up doing a hollow form from this side and then cut the half of the hollow form up. So basically I cheated to do it. So, but it does pass for the ugliest thing I've ever made, I think.
Okay, that's my emerging bowl. I learned three things. One is, you're using a blank that's all beat up on the outside. You probably should square it up before you get started. Two is when you're making a sphere, be pretty careful to make it spherical. Find a way to check it. Anthony, I've seen him, he'd have a ring and he could look for high spots with that ring and then adjust. And the third thing was, I put way too much glue. So when I put it on the backing plate, it's moved around and then I started turning and it's off center. So it's off center and it's emerging.
So technically my lathe is almost out of the crate and I will try that. But this is something I've done in the past. I like making winged bowls, as you can tell. And these are mine.
So I gave it a try. I mean, any excuse about using two holes is a good thing. So use a couple of pieces of ash. I did run through the planer and joiner and make sure they were all square and whatnot.
Use the microphone. Use the microphone.
Oh, I did run them through the planer and the joiner to make sure they were all square. Yeah, making a perfect sphere is really, really hard. And I found that out pretty quick. That's why this one just cut the top off of it. So this is my second try. It kept going deeper and deeper. That, I tried to stick to the 2/3 of it still left in, and it got closer to half, and I might have gone over half. I don't know, but again, really hard to do perfect sphere. But something nice. Got to try something new. So that was my try.
So at the AEW 10, 12 years ago, there was a French guy named O'Day, Pascal O'Day, I think.
Yeah.
And he demonstrated how to do these. And obviously it's a different way of doing it than that was demonstrated last month. He just did one. And so I had to try and do two. And it is very difficult. These are hollowed. I just can't get them apart without an X-Acto knife to try and pry it out because they're on there really tight. The goal when you make these is obviously to get the grains matched and everything. And then what I need is some advice from everybody here. I'm not sure how to cut this away. Do I cut it this way, or do I kind of try to do a round cut on both sides? The concave one? Okay, well then we're gonna do that's an easier way to do it, because I can then sand that with my spindle sander. So yeah, it's
So they complement the sphere.
a cove. Well, yeah. Well, anyway.
What would O'Day do? You've seen O'Day's website?
Yes.
What would he do?
I don't know. I don't think he's done one like this.
Maybe not.
I've done a lot of, and the thing is, when you do this, you're doing two pieces of wood at the same time, and you're using screws to hold those two pieces of wood together, and you're using your jaws. So it's a real tough process. It's an exercise in, mental.
Well, I made one, but it blew up on me. And then I glued up two other ones. And then the lathe switch, I think, is broken on my lathe. So my lathe hasn't been working. So I found these on the shelf that I made years ago. A couple of sycamore, and I think this was ash. But they've been sitting around, and I think that qualifies for it. But I mean, I made it before I knew they had a name to it. So.
I made this as a set of two years and years ago. I saw excuse my voice. I'm losing my voice. I made two of them, and I glued them on, like this. So I cut around this way, and I hadn't really been turning that long. And this is a honey locust. It was kind of wet, and these pieces were a lot bigger. And I put them on with hot glue. And I thought, if that comes off and hits me in the face, it's not going to be good. So I wore the full face motorcycle helmet and everything, and didn't come off, but especially with knots in it and everything else. Anyway, but I thought it was okay. It came out, Now, I didn't know if this would qualify as an emerging bowl or not, but I did this as a stack of 4 bowls, and it's real interesting. It's fun to do, but 99% of all the work goes into make sure that you've got a perfect, it's like a sphere. You have to make a sphere, because otherwise when you cock the bottom bowl and the top bowl are parallel. And when you move this in the chuck to do these angles, it's kind of tricky, but it's neat the way it comes out. So anyway, looks like a stack of bowls. Somebody saw this and they said, "Oh, you just glued them together." I go, "Well, if I did, I'm damn good, because all of the grain lines up and everything." Anyway, it was fun to do. And like I said, to actually do this and make it look like it's 4 bowls takes about 5 minutes. It's amazing. All the work goes into making because otherwise, if you don't, one side will be thinner than the other, and it'll just look real wonky. But it was fun. Anyway.
So although to my own challenge, I had to bring in the finished pieces that I started while I was here. So these are the 2 pieces I was actually working on. during the demonstration. And so if you remember, if you were here or you watched it, I talked about having that piece of walnut in the middle and leaving it to expose and have a little bit of a two-tone look. And so that's what you have there. And on this one, I was just messing around and decided to leave another little chunk there just for fun, a little artistic flair, I guess. And then something I did on the back of this one, which might be hard to see, I just rounded off the corners on the backside. And I thought that made it look a little bit better. But if I was doing my own challenge, I figured I had to challenge myself. So I took what was the three-sided bowl from one of the other demonstrations that we had, try and get that in the middle there, and decided to make a hollow form with a three-sided bowl emerging out of that. So that was a new project for me this time and a good challenge for myself, and it turned out pretty good. Thank you.
All right, I think we've got start with the challenge table, so we're gonna talk for our 3 years specific. This is the challenge, that's the challenge. Oh, challenge, Linda. Oh, okay. This is 04. Last year, Don, don't got choice. All right, and two times enough after break, we're gonna get into our solid street day. Somebody's gonna get a nice prize tonight. Let's see, we got somebody new. You can face over here. You want to draw a ticket for us? If you have a Dollar Street Stakes ticket 193, you can go over and take your choice from the items on the table. Gary, great job. All right. We made somebody take the last time. Okay, so let's go. Well, Gary's fitting through there. Let's go ahead and get started on our show and tell table.
So if you've got a show and tell item, want to bring it up here?
Is the tool rest back on that table?
The tool rest is back on that table.
I saw a YouTube video on captive rings and it sort of fascinated me. And I decided that I would try to do it. I've been working on my skew chisel work. It's interesting to talk about skew chisel because I signed up for, I was telling somebody for Alan Lacer's week-long skew chisel school in Franklin, Indiana this summer. So I thought I had better practice. So I made these with skew chisels. And except for I have a captive ring tool to get the rings loose, but otherwise a skew chisel. And so I'm going to be practicing till July with nothing but skew chisel because I don't want to be the worst one in the class.
So this is a piece of free wood. They always say it's free, but you got to go get it and haul it and turn it. And I let it dry for 3 years. It's a piece of pecan. And I ended up with 2 big chunks. And the hardest part was getting them into the bed of the truck. After turning it, this is a combination of 3 different pieces. A vase, a bowl, and a platter. So I call it a volatter. Volatter. The platter is the rim. Obviously, you can see the vase. And then it has the bowl. And the other thing I wanted to just show off was that when I first started doing this, it was really heavy. So I ended up taking off a lot of wood on the bottom side here, kind of using that same tool that Anthony likes, and that is the round skew. And I wasn't sure if I should just leave it like this, or if I should try to pierce it, or if I should try to make a 3-foot base, and I just decided I'd leave it. And then lastly, This is the biggest piece that I have ever tried using super glue. So this is a super glue finish. It's that Parfix. And I don't know if I'm gonna ever try it again on a big piece like this. It's really difficult to apply and not have runs and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, it's what it is.
I looked at an old picture this holiday season, and my mother had a salad bowl that looked like this, except it was made out of pottery. And so it just kind of spoke to me, and I made one that looked similar to it. And this is fogwood. Yeah, found one around. Makes sense. Here's the mic, please. Yeah, thank you.
I brought 3 pieces for show and tell. I did a sycamore platter. It's pretty straightforward. Next month, as I told Kevin, I got signed up to do a presentation. So I chose to do the, I am not the best wood turner, and I don't know that I have anything super cool to share wood turning wise, but on laser engraving and 3D printing. So both tools that can accessorize your wood turning. So as you can see, I did the maker's mark and you know, put food safe on there because it's finished in a walnut oil. And then the second piece of that is first ornament, inside out ornament that I've done. Gave it a try, but I don't know if you can see deep in there. I 3D printed a little Christmas tree. I had to glue on the star and the ornaments, but you know, kind of give it a little color and put something in there. I know I probably could have, you know, done the way he presented, but I thought I'd give it a try with the 3D printer. So that was the way I brought the 3D printer into it. And then I've been trying to work on my finishes for quite a while. So I had the spalted hackberry bowl that I got the other day that I turned green, left sit for a while, and I've started using lacquer, spray lacquer, and then I'll sand it with about a 3000 wet sand, and then put it on my buffer with the cloth wheel, and seem to be getting pretty good, but you got to be careful not to buff right through your finish. So yeah, exactly. You gotta be quick about it and not get any heat built up, but that's so that's what I've been working on. So
Thank you. Thank you very much. This spalted maple's been back in the free area, free wood stuff. And Paul's been turning it. I've been looking at it and it's all punky. And I thought, I don't want to touch it. It's all punky. I don't want to touch it. And finally he said, just go try. So I tried it. And my piece was not punky. So this is the first piece I did. Out of the spalted maple, and I was shocked how beautiful it was and how deep the wood was. And I went home and Paul, don't look at this very closely because it's has I finished it with shellac on the outside, and I buffed it, and I finished it, and I buffed it, and tonight I saw some streaks in it. So Paul, you can't see them. The inside I did with an oil finish. So this one I did with Odie's oil. And again, Paul, don't look at this. It's not shiny enough. But I put it on there, and I really like the Odie's oil. It's just, it goes on and you wipe it off and you're done. So it's, as someone said, it's expensive, but it goes a long way. So thank you.
I've had an idea in my head and I've been thinking around, and this is not it, but it's kind of an offshoot of it. It's 2 pieces of walnut and 12 aluminum 3/32 rods. And it is a vessel, has a hole in the top. You can put your Cheerios in there, but they'll probably leak out. So I tell you, the hardest thing on this project was trying to get 12 rods of equal length into 12 holes. And so I finally got that figured out by making a cardboard template, because I had to cut it out once I got the rods in the holes. So I like metal and wood, so this is my latest project on that.
Did you bend the rod before you put it together? Put it together.
What I did is I have a threaded one end and tapered on the other. So I put it in the tailstock, screwed a chuck on it, grabbed one end of it. The other end was in the headstock. So I rotated the headstock and cranked in the tailstock at the same time to get the twist. Worked out good.
I figured they were straight when you started, and out of frustration.
I brought 2 things that this fall. There were a lot of trees being made around here. Chris was making little fuzzy trees, and Anthony's trees, as you saw tonight. And I was looking at some videos, and while the little fuzzy trees are made out of green wood and wet wood, this video I found, they were making them out of kiln dried wood. And so these aren't fuzzy and don't have the curled, but use the sharp corner of a carbide scraper to make each one of these little indentions to give it some texture. And then when I decided to color them, I was just going to use acrylic paint, but I found an old bottle of leather dye, and it's the green, and it worked real well. And then when I thought about putting a touch of snow on it, I used white acrylic paint, which as it dried seemed to have picked up a lot of the dye. But as is every tree in my backyard this time of year, there's a cardinal in there. So, the other thing is I'm a gardener also. And so I have about 100 or so bulbs of garlic in my basement in mesh bags hidden away in the dark. And every once in a while we bring up a couple bulbs and throw them in a drawer, and when we need a clove, we grab one. And that's just sort of cumbersome. So I made this garlic keeper to keep on the counter. It's got holes in it so that it can aerate, but it's the garlic still kept in the dark so it doesn't sprout. And so that's what I brought.
So every year I make a few dozen Christmas ornaments to give away to family and friends and keep a few for myself. So this is one I did with kind of an inlay snowflake. I cut the snowflake out on my laser engraver, 4-sided there. So that turned out pretty good. And then this one, drilled the holes through and put colored pencils in there. So they were red and green colored pencils is the way that you get the red and green, if you can see the red and green on that one. And then this one I just made actually this past week. I saw somewhere somebody made a lantern. So it has a tea light candle on the inside of it. But what I did different than what I saw most places was I used my laser engraver to cut a bottom out for it. And cut a little hole so you can still turn it on and off. Put a little metal piece on here so you can still pop that light out if you need to. I also, on the laser engraver, cut a little top for it so you don't see the white of the tea light. So it's all wood. I think the next one I'll do, I'll stain or put color on it, and probably use some sort of texturing tool to kind of try and make it look older. But and this is one of those tea lights that turns off on its own, so you don't have to worry about the battery going out. So pretty cool little ornament though.
I think that is all of our show and tell tonight. I got to say that I'm very impressed for a January meeting, first meeting of the year, and to have 6 to 10 different challenge projects and 6 to 10.
One more.
I cut you off early. Ben's one of our newer members, and I'm excited to see what he's got to show us.
So I'm new. This was most of the wood that I get. Most of the wood that I get is usually got broken pieces and everything. So most of my stuff usually ends up with a bunch of holes in it. So I made one like that, and this is the first time that I've made one with feet on it. So I was trying to get it so that it didn't fall off of this one, but it kind of worked out. And then this was a piece of sycamore from my sister in Virginia. And I put epoxy in all the holes. And then I put I have a whole tree of oak, so I made a lid for it. It doesn't match very well, but then I just learned how to make the little knobs for the handles. And this is actually the first one where it actually won't fall off when I'm putting it together. Most of them I've made, they were like really wet when I turned them. So the tops always ended up one way or another from the bowl, or I didn't measure it right and the lids would just fall off all the time. But this one I actually got to stay on. So. Oh yeah, I have a lot of pieces.
Yeah, they come after you. Again, I apologize, Ben, for cutting you off there. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the wood back there.
It's pretty, I figured you guys have done bigger, so I'm gonna load it, unless there's somebody go ahead and I put out the fruit.
Yeah. So if you want to take a look over there, he brought in some wood, I think there was some, 2 kinds of wood, wasn't there? Or is it all box elder?
No.
Some sycamore in there too. So please take a look. He took the time to bring it in for us, and I'm sure he would enjoy having it parted out to everybody and not have to take it all home, right?
I hate to cut into everybody's profits, but I have a half dozen pieces of like 6 or 7 inch pin oak and some shallow flatter size things out there in the car too.
Okay, so Curtis got some wood out there if you want some. I know Don brought in some chunks, but I think we're going to save those back maybe and try to get them into the next month's meeting. But thank you all for coming tonight. I know we're running a little bit long. If we can get some help putting the chairs back, that's always helpful. I hope to see you all next month, and we're looking forward to Curtis. We're looking forward to your demo next month. All right. Thank you all. And Happy New Year.
Oh.